Okay, so now let's move on to our third speaker. Many of you know Jim Runestad from his great work as an Oakland County Commissioner. He was very actively involved, really helped shepherd through the protection against NDAA resolution that went through Oakland County, and we had some excellent interaction with him on that and tremendous guidance. He's also now running for the State House for the seat that's currently filled by Tom McMillan, but Tom's a candidate now for State Senate because I think he's turned out. I'm sorry, Eileen Cole. I had the wrong district there. Okay, but Jim is running for the State House, and he's going to come and share with us some thoughts on the County Commission and also the race for the State House and things that are in his mind. So, ladies and gentlemen, please a big welcome for Jim Runestad.
Thank you. I'm going to turn down my phone so it doesn't disturb us here. As Dennis just mentioned, I am a Oakland County Commissioner currently serving White Lake and Waterford. And the district that I'm looking at running in is the 44th, currently served by Eileen Cole, and that is White Lake, Waterford, Highland, Springfield, and Milford. So it's kind of a big L-shaped district. And like Dennis said, for me, not only the NDAA, which is something that I just couldn't believe in this country, that we talk about this being an exceptional country. What makes it exceptional? Is it the ground? Well, there's more fertile ground elsewhere. Is it our military might or our economic might? There has been a lot of empires throughout history that were dominant military or economic systems. I think what makes us exceptional in this country is the Constitution. And if that becomes a piece of trash, which I think it is, it's going in that direction with the current federal government, then we're not exceptional. We lose all of our freedoms if we can't hold the politicians accountable. And the idea that the government can say, well, on suspicion, anyone in here could be arrested upon suspicion. You don't get an attorney, you don't get a judge, you get taken in front of some tribunal of one who determines whether you are whisked away, never to be seen again. That's the kind of thing that my parents told me happened in Nazi Germany when I was little and in the Soviet Union. The exact kind of thing that they said, the reason that we are the United States of America and we are great is not the color of our flag, it's not just the color and the way it flaps, it's the Constitution. It is the liberties that we have because of the Constitution. And if we don't protect that, if we don't really say that this is the one thing that we're going to stand on as our constitutional principles, then we're done. As Franklin said, if you are going to trade away your liberties so you can be safe and secure, you will neither have the liberties nor the safety. So for me, when assuming that I win and go to Lansing, the constitutional protections are going to be foremost in my mind. We absolutely have to be thinking about that, the state constitution and the federal constitution, on everything we do. In the county, did I lose my mic? It'll come back. Oh, okay. In the county, one of the Democrat commissioners said, and we're kind of debating an issue, and he said, well, we have to have these programs. And one of the administration deputy executives said, well, it's against the Headley Amendment. He said, well, I don't care. We have to have these. These are absolutely necessary. We have to have these programs. But it's against the Headley Amendment is part of the state constitution. We can't do that. But we have to. These are very important. He vigorously kept arguing, but we need them. We have to have them. If the Democrats had the majority, that would have passed. Even though it was a violation of Headley, they did not care. The same thing with the budget, if the Democrats get in charge of the budget. I don't know if you saw, but recently Oakland County is again AAA rated and also named by Moody's as the best run county in the nation. Out of over 3,600 counties, it's the third year in a row. This county has all of the money set aside for all of the health care and retirement costs of all the employees. Virtually no other entity in the United States has that. Some of them are funded at 20%. So you have all these obligations. If you live in one of those communities, you better start checking. You may want to start thinking of moving out because you're going to be hit with massive, massive tax increases to pay when that bill comes due. In Oakland County, it's all paid for. The state does a year-by-year budget, and until Snyder came in, it was always off, it was always behind, and they were doing one-time fixes. I'm glad to see he's doing an annual budget and it's coming in on time. In Oakland County, it's a 3-year budget. We budget out 3 years, and it's a revolving budget. We meet every 2 weeks and review the budget, and then we meet once a quarter and review the budget, and then we meet once a year reviewing the budget. And for 3 years, it's budgeted. If we find out, listen, the revenue is going to drop from tax revenue or from a grant, from the state or federal grants, we cut right then to make sure we don't get caught. One of the hearings I was in where the Democrat said, what the debate was, okay, Oakland County's revenues dropped, plunged during the recession. And so we said we can't, not only can we not give raises to the employees, but we're going to cut the wages of the employees, which we did for 2 years in a row. And the Democrats said, this is crazy. Let's just get rid of the AAA rating. If this is all just to hang on to that AAA rating, let's just get rid of it. We don't need a AAA rating. Then we can pay these employees a raise. And Bob Gatto, our financial guru, said to the commissioner, well, Commissioner, in your district, and he knew off the top of the head, there's so much million of this bonding, and this bonding, and this community, and this bonding, and this bonding, and this bonding, and these parts of your community that you represent that you got AAA rating, and your community is not AAA. It's probably B or less than B. So you have saved a mountain of money in your community because of that AAA rating. But one of the Democrats said, if we take charge, if we take control, she said this in the paper, there's so many fun things we can do. That was her quote. There is so many fun things we can do. If they take control, and by the way, if we hadn't controlled redistricting, they would be in control of the county commission right now. If they eventually, because every year this county trends more Democratic. It's about a 51% right now, Republican. And every year it trends more and more and more. We got to work to hang on to those seats. There's 3 seats that we're going to be battling to hang on to this cycle in 14, but that's going to continue. We're going to have more and more battles going forward, and then there's going to be the battle for the executive when Brooks retires. If they take over the county, that 3-year budget, get rid of that. This is just stopping the fun programs that we get. The AAA, get rid of that. This is stopping so many fun things we could do. And the only difference between Wayne County and Oakland County is the philosophy. As a commissioner in Wayne County and Macomb County, I understand from reading in the paper, after 5 years, I would have lifetime health care benefits for my wife and I, all paid for by the county. In Oakland County, there's no pension, there's no health care benefits. The minute you step out of the job, you're done. Even if you're there for 15 years, it doesn't make a difference. So that's the kind of difference that having good conservative governance makes in your pocketbook. And if you aren't paying attention real close to those local officials and what they're doing, you may find that you're going to be hit with some gargantuan taxes. For me, if I get to Lansing, my big concerns are, 1, making sure we adhere to the Constitution, 2, getting rid of wasteful spending. I was on the Mackinac Center website the other day, and there's hundreds of millions of dollars that we can cut. A lot of subsidies. We subsidize the MIS track. I don't really watch race cars, but my daughter ice skates, and so maybe should we subsidize a big giant skating rink here in Michigan, and then I can watch my daughter and I love watching figure skaters and all these great skaters. We'll pay to have them all come in and subsidize at all your expense because I like to watch figure skating. I like rodeos. Maybe we'll build a big rodeo rink and a big rodeo arena, and every one of you can pay so I can watch rodeos. I don't think that's a core function of government. Movie studios and film subsidies. I don't believe we ought to be paying for these things. There is a lot that we can cut and carve into. Before they talk about 1 penny of tax increase, we have to find out what is there that needs to be cut. I know in the food service in Oakland County, we pay, it's about $2 a meal in the jail. We privatized the jail. My understanding is that the state was about $5 a meal, and they have many, many more prisoners. I think they just changed that now, but this has been going on for years that people have been talking about it. So if you go on the Mackinac Central website, read, and if any legislation, we've cut to the bone, there's not a dollar left. Look on that website, and it's going to tell you that there is a lot of areas to cut. The third area I would like to pay attention to is jobs. I am absolutely convicted that we need to be worrying about American jobs. That goes from outsourcing all of the jobs out of the country that I think is, they keep talking about the middle class, the middle class, the middle class, but so many jobs have been outsourced out of this country. Put in Cayman Island accounts that so many of these big corporations have that we don't even know where this money's going. But even more so, something I can do on the local level is what I did here in Oakland County. My first month on the job in Oakland County back in '09, sworn in on January. On February, I put forward a resolution that we're to use the E-Verify system. How many of you have heard of the E-Verify system in here? About half, maybe a little over half. Very simply, if you get a job, any of you, you have to fill out a sheet of paper. It's called I-9 on the top, and it lists your identification, your driver's license, so they know who you are. It's federal law. Every one of you have to do that for any job. So what E-Verify does is it simply takes the name off of that, and it takes the Social Security off of that. The business types it in, hits send, an average of 5 seconds back, it comes back as a match or a mismatch. If it is a match, that means that that name and that Social Security go together and you can hire the person. If it's a mismatch, typically it's either, so I go shake it or just stop and then it starts again. If it's a mismatch, it's typically either a woman who was married and she didn't change her maiden name, and the longer she lets that go and multiple jobs and then she retires, they have to go back and unwind all of this wrong information. So the quicker she gets that fixed, the better. The other reason, typically, that there is a wrong Social Security number, in the United States we have approximately 320 million people. We have 410 million Social Security numbers. 320 million people and 410 Social Security numbers. The government doesn't give a rat's behind that. They talk about the safety. We got to do the safety. She just starts again. The safety. Well, there's a safety. I don't believe anything when they tell me about the safety. We're reading your emails for your safety. I don't believe a word of it. Number one, the border's completely open. Tunnels are dug that WMD can come underneath. Who the heck knows who's coming and going? 100 million Social Security numbers floating around, and I don't think they care at all about our safety. So when they talk about vote for our safety, it doesn't mean anything to me. What means something to me is number one, the Constitution, and number two, that we are looking out for our neighbors, the citizens who are born here. If you broke into the country, you may be a nice person, but the people who are here can't go home to the home country. None of you can go, as far as I know, can go home to your home country. This is your home country. There's no other place that you can go. So we had in Oakland County almost every one of the golf courses and the airport and many other vendors doing all kinds of work with all illegal labor. When we passed E-Verify, all those companies were gone. Hundreds of people out of work. Now I know they say Americans are too lazy to work, all the young people are too lazy, they will not work. It's all BS. All Americans are now doing these jobs that they were all too lazy to do. The Americans are willing to work, but the numbers are devastating in terms of what the average income. Well, I don't know how much. First off, I don't want to go on too long. How are we doing on that?
You're fine.
Okay. In terms of income loss, and you know what, I'm going to have a hard time with seeing what I've got going here, but here's a good example. A record number of Americans have either lost or been pushed out of the workforce. Less than 60% of U.S. adults are working. A record 11 million have now filed for and went on disability. Another record 47 million on food stamps. Median household income has dropped 60% since 2007. Inflation-adjusted wages are lower than 1999. The number of people who have been unemployed for 27 weeks or longer is 4.3 million, and 11.3 million people, including nearly a quarter of all youths, are looking for jobs but can't find them. Now, the other side of this issue is to say Americans are too lazy and they will not do the work. The wages can get depressed so bad. The average company that hires illegal labor is saving 40 to 60% on the cost. They don't pay taxes. They don't pay FICA. They don't pay. Frequently, the way it is done is that they will have this team of illegal workers. They say, "Who speaks English?" "I do." "Okay, you're the boss. You're the subcontractor. I'm the contractor, and I'm going to pay you your company. Just go file with the bank that you're the ABC, LLC company. I'm going to write a check to you. Now you go cash the check and you pay your employees with cash. And there's no income tax collected. It costs, I'll tell you what it costs in Michigan. These are from FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform. Cost to Michiganders is $929 a year. $929 million a year. $377 million is to educate children of illegal aliens. $88 million is on unreimbursed healthcare costs. $66 million on criminal justice activities. $147 million a year on welfare for illegal aliens. $255 million a year for additional state and local operating costs. $241 million annual cost to each Michigan native-born head of household. It costs you, unless you're one of the employers, a lot of times when I speak, there's employers hiring illegals, and they justify it. I don't know if there's any here. By golly, it's to help everybody. You're looking at what the costs are being foisted on all the rest of us. It doesn't help us that these companies are using illegal labor. So if you're one of those, you and I will disagree, because I know it is costing the taxpayer. That is not money. When illegals earn their money, typically, and last year it was $29 billion in the United States went back to home countries. So it didn't go into the local community bank, and from there go to the chop house and all of the other gas station stuff. It went back to home countries. So it didn't circulate money here. You have all these costs thrown onto the rest of us so that a few people can benefit. The young people are having a very difficult time getting even that first job. And they say if they don't get that first job and they're just living at home, they may get into a cycle where they never get employed. If you don't break in and get that work ethic going when you're young, and you're 5, 6, 7 years living at mom and dad's not working, it's very difficult to eventually break into the job market. So there's no positives here. So this is one of the things I am very pleased and proud that there are hundreds of people employed now in Oakland County who were before not working, and that these companies are gone. I'm very, very pleased with that. In terms of, there was one question I was told to address, and that was the DIA tax, Detroit Institute of Arts. Is there anyone that does not know anything about that? Okay, everyone's familiar with that. I did not vote for it for a whole host of reasons. It would take me the next 20 minutes to tell you all the reasons why I did not vote for it. This being just one of them was what happens if the DIA is forced to sell the artwork if the city goes bust over. And I had Jerry Poisson, who is our deputy executive and also is the legal mind, who crafted a lot of the legal language, and this is what he sent to me. Number one, Oakland County does not have a contract with or obligation to the city of Detroit with respect to the DIA. The voter-approved tax levied by the Oakland County Art Institute Authority, a legal entity separate from the county and separate from the city, is the entity that receives the money. The Oakland Authority expressly provides in the service agreement contract between the authority and DIA that the authority shall have no obligation to levy a tax in any year should the city of Detroit abrogate, cancel, revoke, suspend, terminate, or substantially modify the operating agreement dated December 12th, 1997. That was the first one that was written up between the DIA and the city. That any sale of art from the collection where the proceeds were used for any purpose other than to buy more art for the museum would be contrary to the operating agreement between the city and the DIA and trigger the provision noted in the subsequent number 3 above and terminate our duty to levy the tax. So apparently, assuming that we have a judge that understands that very clear language, that we should have the ability to, if they do begin to sell the artwork, cease the levy that is required under that tax that was passed. And with that, I will open up for any questions. Yes?
I have a question and a comment. My question is, what is your position on decriminalizing marijuana? And my comment is, Obama couldn't pass your E-Verify system.
As to Obama and what he passes or doesn't pass, I am no fan, obviously, of Obama. I don't even know what his motives are for anything that he does. But I would like to see it pass at the state level. I would like all jobs, particularly as it pertains to public jobs. I talked to one of the contractors. There's about 7 major contractors in all the roads in the United States, in the state of Michigan. There are some smaller ones, but these are the big 7 that really do the vast bulk of the roads. And one of them was getting most of the contracts and was underbidding. I talked to 2 of these big 7. They were at a hearing in Lansing that I was at. And they said that they're bidding less than what it cost us. We're all within about $50,000 to $100,000 of each other on a bid. There's sometimes $300,000-400,000 less. It comes in less than our prevailing wage and material cost. They're coming in less from it. And the only way they're doing it is they're the company that are known that they're using illegal labor. And they said in the testimony they said they're going to bust us. This company is going to bust us using illegal labor. So how the average person who is barely scrimping by pays their taxes to hire people that are not here legally, and maybe these people are out of work, barely surviving. They have to pay the taxes, but they're locked out of these jobs because there's a drive to illegally to get around prevailing wage. It's a complicated system. They can do it, hiring illegal labor. One of the contractors was telling me how the process that they are getting the contract less than prevailing wage and less than the material cost because they're paying them way less than the prevailing wage. but it's showing that they are. So it's just an absolute corrupt system. As far as legalizing marijuana,
No, decriminalize.
decriminalizing. I don't know if you're the gentleman, somebody had emailed me on that question. I said I would have to know a lot more about it. I haven't thoroughly vetted through that to be able to make a decision. I don't know. Other questions? Yes.
Sir, to verify, do all counties have those in the state and around the country? Because if you ran Obama's name through E-Verify on a national level, it wouldn't prove a lot, but it would get some attention.
It would be nice to have him run through. By the way, I think
They
it's.
have run them through, and he can't pass.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me. By the way, I think it's 15 states have it. Hundreds of thousands of municipalities. I think Oakland and Macomb are the only two in Michigan that have it. I went up and talked to Genesee County, and oh goodness, here they're in receivership, and they're just, I mean, the mentality up there was just mind-boggling. First here and there.
I just want to add something to that. You mentioned for E-Verify, they need a social security number. Obama has about 6.
Well, there's 410 million, so he's accounting for 6 of them. Yes.
Commissioner Runestad, I'm curious, wouldn't it make more sense for the state government to focus on money that's going directly to illegals through the welfare, education, and other programs than money that's being funneled to illegal employees through their employers? It's a direct system of paying illegals to live on welfare versus the indirect system of actually paying them to work. Would it be fair to prioritize one over the other, or do you see it as a package deal?
Package deal. There's a program called the SAVE program, and this has been passed in a number of states, and it is to make sure that you are legal before you get benefits. And I think that has a lot of merit, and that's something I would like to see here in Michigan also. It would eliminate people who are here illegally from getting benefits, which is going on rampant here at this time. Any other? Yes.
Along the lines of things that the state's subsidizing, one of which is the alternative energy, specifically thinking of the wind turbine business. The state is bankrolling, the feds are too. Where do you stand on that? What's the likelihood or the process for reversing that and getting the state out of that business and letting those things stand or not? They're not profitable without state or federal aid. A wind turbine or 100 wind turbines cannot make money. I had a guy that owns a bunch of them tell me this. You cannot make money without federal government subsidy.
It's crony capitalism. You're not having a system where the best idea, the hardest working, the most effective, the most efficient industry rises up and becomes successful, and it can only stay there as long as they're providing that service, because there's other companies swirling around trying to get that business. So it's a very competitive system, always creating the best. Crony capitalism, you shuffle money to the legislators, and then they create the moat around your business, and they shovel in federal dollars or state dollars. It's a completely inefficient system, completely unfair. It's the system of pull, perks, power, privilege, that has nothing to do with helping the average person. I would absolutely be in opposition to that. Any other questions? Pardon? Yes.
Hey, Jim. Just so everybody knows, I'm not running against you because you said Waterford. It's broken in half. But my question, though, is it's kind of a statement in two ways. My family, it's kind of mixed between the UK, South Africa, and here. And a lot of them have Social Security numbers, but they're different kind of Social Security numbers. Some of them are 10s, some of them are Social Security numbers. But they're not able to work or nothing. But at the same time, they're real Social Security numbers, even though they're not living in the United States. The government just wants them to pay taxes. So I mean, it's kind of so even though there's a lot of fake Social Security numbers, there's also a lot of real Social Security numbers that just don't exist here. And secondly, my other thing is, what kind of energy policy what ideas do you have? I know he was talking about wind energy, which I kind of do like.
I can't hear what you're saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can't hear anything you said.
Oh, well, I was also saying about the wind energy thing too. About even though he does. Oh, thanks. Okay, well, anyways, I was just talking about one the different Social Security numbers because my family, some of them are from the UK, some of them were actually from South Africa and places of that nature. I'm American, but however, they actually have Social Security numbers so that they can actually pay taxes to the U.S. government if they're making money here. But what I was also talking about is what other kind of ideas do you have for our state to create more energy ideas to get us off cold weather, basically coal?
Well, I think we have to encourage exploration and encourage companies to safely extract energy from various parts of the state of Michigan. I was asked about fracking. My understanding is that if fracking is done out in the western areas where there's not a high water table, it's very safe. It's a little more complicated in Michigan because of the geographic. I guess it's shaped like a dish, and there's a lot of granite underneath there, and so it's a little more troublesome. This is what I hear. But I haven't heard any major issues with it outstate. I don't know whether, I think there should be local control, whether they're going to drill right next to your house and bringing in giant tanks of chemicals to put in there. There needs to be some understanding of having a safety concern. But beyond that, as far as an energy policy, I'd have to find out what's going on in the state legislature. I see I've generated 2 questions. I think we'll start here and then Chris next.
You might check with Mark Snow. He's a geologist for the state of Michigan. And he has 8 or 10 years experience in fracking. The only place where they're having problems with fracking, and this is legitimate, is Pennsylvania. They're having kind of problems there. And it's because of the way it's been set up, my understanding. We recently, I'm from Independence Township Conservative Club. We recently had him do about a half-hour presentation to us. It's available to any club. It's very in-depth. You will not find a negative fracking statement on his behalf. There must be something more involved here than just the idea that fracking is dangerous. There must be something more involved in this whole process. And I would be interested in knowing what it is.
I would too. I'd love to see 2 high-powered, passionate, knowledgeable people, and this is what they care about.
Yes.
One pro and one con. I would love that. I find that listening to one side of something is not going to be helpful to me. I got to hear both sides from people who really know their stuff and debating the heck out of it. Go ahead, Chris.
I want to talk later on more in depth about this subject, but with the Great Lakes, there are some people that believe the sovereignty and management of the Great Lakes belongs to the federal government. And some believe it's more appropriately handled at the state level. I'm just curious what your thoughts were.
It would seem to me, and I'll have to research that one a little more, but it would seem to me that's more of a state. It's within the state of Michigan that it would be the purview of the state. Any other questions? Yes.
Michigan has a big problem, along with all the other states, in that many communities only have one cable internet service provider. A lot of cities have entered into exclusive franchise agreements, and so they've completely eliminated competition. As has been proven with Google Fiber expansion throughout Kansas City, Provo, Utah, parts of Texas, just by having a faster broadband provider actually creates jobs because people can do new things that they were unable to before. What would you do to help bring about more broadband competition in the state and get rid of the Comcast and AT&T and Verizon strangleholds?
Everything I could do to have a monopoly of any kind to me is anathema. I mean, you then have to go to the bureaucracy. I have been through that process. I've had problems with the Comcast. I just got them resolved, but but it took a lot of time and effort, and any kind of a monopoly to me is a dangerous thing. You're not going to get the level of service you do if they have to be in there competing with a lot of other competitors. So anything I can do to facilitate that.
How about a big round of applause for Jim Runestad?
Thank you very much.